The New York Mets have finally made a huge, massive signing with getting starting pitcher Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer was the big fish in the free agency pool, and Steve Cohen had that hook, and he was able to snatch him on out and make him a New York Met. If you like this video talking about Max Scherzer and any kind of Mets news, I mean, I'm wearing my pajamas because this is the kind of signing that is worth getting out of bed for. Comment down below, what are your thoughts on the Max Scherzer signing and what should the Mets do next? Is it Javi Baez? Do they still have that much more money to spend, or will it be some smaller moves adding more pitching and other areas? And if you want to make getting out of bed worth it, I have to go to work in the morning, so I'm losing out on sleep for this. You definitely could subscribe. It would make all the hard work worth it as we're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers. So let's talk about Mad Max. He had another great year this year for the Washington Nationals and then being traded to Los Angeles Dodgers, finishing with a 2.46 ERA, and we look at his metrics and his baseball savant page, the guy is still elite. And what I like most about what Max Scherzer has done and did this season was his performances in the postseason. Max Scherzer was absolutely money for the Dodgers in the playoffs this year. Max Scherzer was so good that it seemed like the Dodgers, with the crazy payroll and all the talent they have, they did have some pitching injuries and suspensions, but they had Max Scherzer pitch on short rest, and that caused him to get hurt, and that caused Max Scherzer to not be able to pitch Game 6 of the National League Championship Series. I hope that whatever injury was bothering Max Scherzer will be 100% by the time the season starts, and the fact that Max Scherzer is 37 years old, and in this 3-year deal, he's going to be a Met when he's 40 years old, you really want to be careful with him and don't push him too much during the regular season. I said from the beginning that starting pitching had to be a massive priority for the Mets with the injuries that happened to Jacob deGrom and still the uncertainty around him, because we really do not know what the main injury was and if Jacob deGrom is even 100% yet. And I don't think we really will know until he's in game action, because it's one thing to be throwing around, playing catch, you're like, oh, I feel fine. But then when you pitch an actual start and you throw close to 100 pitches at 102 miles an hour, then you know exactly where your body is at. And obviously the struggles of Taijuan Walker in the second half were concerning. This is a guy that has dealt with so many injuries in his career. He finally had a healthy season in the 60-game season. And I think that fatigue really just set in on Taijuan. So he's another guy that the Mets have got to be very careful of. And that's what also made pitching such a high priority, and the struggles that Carlos Carrasco had and David Peterson had. The injury to Joey Lucchesi doesn't help. Tylor Megill was up and down in his rookie year, so there were far too many question marks in this rotation. And for a team that's in win now mode, I always say, how did the Mets get to the World Series in 2015? It was with starting pitching. So signing Max Scherzer and having him and Jacob deGrom as the 1-2 combo is exactly what a win now team needs. And I know that Max Scherzer will perform in New York. He is that kind of competitive guy, and I think that Met fans are really going to give him a chance because they know exactly how good he is, because we saw him no-hit us when he was with the Washington Nationals and have a ton of really good starts. And I definitely overall just feel a lot better about this Mets team, because when I look at them, I just really get worried about their starting rotation, that even though on paper it looks pretty good, I just get way too concerned that Walker could struggle and get hurt. Same goes for Carrasco, same even goes for deGrom. So I really hope that Scherzer could be healthy, because if he can, the Mets are definitely going to be playing much better this year than they did the previous season. And now they turn their attention to Javier Baez and what's going to happen there after Marcus Semien signed his 7-year, $175 million deal. It looks like that means that Javier Baez will have to decrease his asking price of the reported 6 years, $200 million. Hopefully now that the Mets have Scherzer, Baez will want to be a Met even more, and the Mets will be able to get that deal done. I wouldn't necessarily count on the Mets maintaining Javi Baez. The kind of contract they're giving to Scherzer, over $40 million, pretty much making him one of the highest paid players in all of baseball. That is a lot of money that the Mets are committing right now, not to mention the Francisco Lindor contract, plus the deGrom, Cano, the contracts they added over the weekend with Canha, Escobar, and Marte. It really would be crazy if the Mets added another big contract in Javier Baez. Even with the Mets signing Max Scherzer, I still would like one more starting pitcher, because the rotation as of right now would be deGrom, Scherzer, Carrasco, Walker, and then who are you going to? Tylor Megill? Again, nothing against Megill, but he was very consistent, and you're counting on a rookie to be your 5th starter. I would like someone a little more proven, and unfortunately, the guy that I like the most for that role, John Gray, went to the Texas Rangers. So now the Mets have to look at that lower tier of starting pitchers just to fill out the rotation and have that overall depth to, again, protect themselves from any injuries that could happen throughout the course of the season. And then if we want to get crazy, a hitting bullpen would be really nice, especially with losing Aaron Loup. Luckily, the reliever market hasn't moved around too much quite yet. The left-handed relievers, other than Aaron Loup, are still out there, so the Mets could sign those guys, whether that be Jake Diekman, Andrew Chafin, Andrew Miller, or somebody else. But overall, you have to be extremely pleased with what the New York Mets have done so far, and I think they will do a couple more things. Probably not as big as Max Scherzer, but they will do some other moves before this deadline happens. And this will be Steve Cohen's big welcome to New York statement. Steve Cohen is here to play. The New York Mets are truly a big market team because he said he wants to be like the Dodgers, and prying away Max Scherzer from the Dodgers shows that you are here to compete and that the New York Mets are finally going to be one of the top markets, one of the highest spending teams in all of baseball. And no more can people say, oh, Cohen is a Wilpon, oh, the Mets are being cheap, oh, the Mets go after mediocre players, they're going after type B players, they're never getting the big guys. Getting Max Scherzer is the big guy. Again, to me, I think he was the biggest free agent in the whole free agency market because of starting pitching. It is just so valuable. It is what wins you championships. So as good as some other players are out there like Carlos Correa and Chris Bryant, they're all very talented, but Max Scherzer was the guy for free agency. And I'm just extremely excited. It still doesn't even feel real. I really cannot wait to see Max Scherzer. It sounds crazy even say it because I had said all along it seems so unlikely. Max Scherzer doesn't seem like he's interested in New York, but I guess the negotiation tactics of Steve Cohen and Billy Epler and money talks, and the money said a whole lot for Max Scherzer to come to the New York Mets. But there still are plenty of big players that need to be signed, even if it's not by the Mets, by other teams. So there will be videos for those. So until those next videos, be safe, be smart, be healthy. Let's go Mets. Max Scherzer is a New York Met, baby!